So growing up, also, just like I didn't have any understanding of genre boundaries, I also didn't understand medium boundaries at all. I really thought everything was art, and
Yeah.
all that mattered was how anything made me feel as I consumed it or read it. So comics was something that I did not think I would ever get to do, because for the simple fact that I cannot draw at all, which is why the wall behind you fills me with so much envy. And so I admire talent in all its forms, but I also deeply envy it, especially when it's art and it's music, because the journey of art or music into the brain of someone who's looking at it or listening to it is so immediate, and you can tell whether you love it or you don't relate to it in 1 second. So the emotional connection you form to either art or music is right there. Um,
Yeah.
for consuming long form prose, it takes a bit of time, and it requires it. I mean, it doesn't require external shaping, but it's very affected by external shaping. You need to spend a bit of time inside the world that's created to really figure out what your relationship with it
Yeah.
is. And you can't really see it or listen to it immediately and go, okay, I love this. This is me now. So when I think around 2006 or so, and at this point, I think two books were out. They were doing well. Um, and interesting work was coming in, because it was an interesting time in India, because there were lots of these big entertainment companies which were opening up in their offices, and I kind of became the default science fiction fantasy guy. Um, you found if you Googled who can we find to actually make these things in this country. So when I got an email out of nowhere, and a lot of my career has been emails out of nowhere for really strange things which I find extremely exciting. And this was one where I said, "Would you like to do comics?" Said this company that had come to India with a whole bunch of celebrity names attached. Said, "I would love to do comics. Do I tell them now that I can't draw, or is that something that we find out together?" No, but they had this whole studio, and they had all these artists, and they needed someone to kind of come in and fix a story that they were struggling a bit with, and which is why they were looking out. And so, wandering into the other arts has been so fascinating, because it's not like you lose books if you try anything else, but every other medium will teach you so much about just storytelling, and trying to fit that into the other mediums that you work in, and trying to kind of evolve an overall process where your principles are coming from diverse sources is a really exciting experience. So I was lucky enough to be working with an editor who had previously done time at Marvel and was now the chief editor for this. Um,
Nice.
so, just the first three drafts of the first comic strip I wrote were so exciting creatively, because you learn to think differently, and you learn to completely reframe your storytelling process. And it's a crash course on this, because you have deadlines and you're getting paid to do this. Um, so it's really like going to school. The difference between um, creating a book where you really have to define everything that the reader experiences, and just you know thinking spatially and thinking visually, and thinking about how something will look and not just how it feels, um, is such an exciting experience to learn how to do that kind of visual thinking, and to kind of make room for the artists to be themselves, and to elevate the work to a level that it could not have been had it just been text. Um,
Hmm.
it's, I think, also the best way to learn screenwriting, because even that is a complete leap into the dark, and there you have even less control. So often it can be challenging for people who work with prose, where they in the end they really decide what's going on the page. um, Screenwriting can be a bit traumatic, because you have no control over anything. um, comics is a nice middle ground, because you are still the writer of it, so the responsibility for the story is still in your hands. um, but
Yeah.
I was very happy to find that there a lot of writers have this problem where they think of the artist as an illustrator, not realizing that the artist has their own storytelling, that at a visceral level is perhaps more important than the text that's going in, depending on the kind of
Yeah.
reader that you have and the kind of story that it is. So just learning that one is able to collaborate successfully in something that is so personal and so important when you're writing it, right? Because when you're telling a story, it is a very pure act in some sense. It is something that gives you joy
Yeah.
when you're doing it. So that was really encouraging to find out that collaboration is something that I can do when it's my work, and so which is why I've kind of explored opportunities that have come up whenever they've come up.